Recently, India's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party made a rare public accusation against the US State Department and the deep state, claiming they were funding anti-India media and collaborating with India's opposition parties to destabilize the country. India's cooperation is long considered indispensable for the US Indo-Pacific strategy, and India-US relations remain in a honeymoon phase. But why has the US seemingly turned against India? In fact, Indian media had previously expressed concerns about the future of India-US relations. After Trump's election victory, the Indian Express published an article in mid-November suggesting that India could once again become a target of US trade wars. In late July, during a U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell candidly stated that India is a great power pursuing its own interests, but will never become a formal U.S. ally or partner. Campbell's remark exposed the essence of India-U.S. relations and clarified their boundaries. First, there's a fundamental conflict between the strategic objectives of the US and India. India, under Modi's government, is striving to build itself into a leading global power. Though its capabilities remain limited in the short term, psychologically, Modi's government already views India as a major power on par with the US and China, with a long-term strategic goal of challenging the US as a global leader. Conversely, the US aims to exploit India as a counterbalance to China, using their rivalry to prolong American global hegemony. India is fully aware of this strategic contradiction, which remains the biggest obstacle to future US-India cooperation. Secondly, the strategic interests of the US and India differ significantly. India and the US are at different developmental stages, with distinct cultural norms and global priorities. They hold significant disagreements, particularly in trade policies, agriculture, pharmaceuticals, climate change, high-tech visa regulations, and WTO disputes. The clash between America first and India first means neither side is willing to back down. Thirdly, the national characteristics of the US and India are contradictory and in conflict with each other. India's pursuit of national revival is heavily intertwined with religious sentiments, which frequently clashes with US values on democracy and human rights. The US harbors deep concerns about India's perceived democratic backsliding and often criticizes India's human rights record and treatment of religious minorities. Fourth, there's a lack of strategic mutual trust and a sense of mutual suspicion. The mutual distrust between India and US dates back to the Cold War, when India closely aligned itself with the Soviet Union and led the non-aligned movement to counter US influence. The US has not forgotten India's anti-American history, while India remains highly cautious of US sanctions and interference in its affairs. At its core, India-US relations remain fragile. For this reason, India understands that taking sides between China and the US would be detrimental. A major global power seeks to maintain neutrality while leaning towards the US in certain areas, engaging in both competition and cooperation. Although India and the US cannot become formal allies, it is undeniable that both share substantial common interests and areas of alignment amidst the ongoing adjustment of international order.